Hello there. I want to talk about bullies and their enablers and some of their tactics and how it kind of creates kind of an opportunity for bullies and kind of a boundary and kind of almost like a safe space for bullying. And what I'm talking about in specifically is the way that bullies never take responsibility on their own. They never do. They never just say, I did this and I caused this problem and I'm sorry. That never happens, ever. And really, that's why no one should ever seek closure in a situation. But that's not the point here. The point is, a bully will mistreat someone or be mean or whatever. And then when they get some pushback, then they become the victim and the other person is the aggressor at that point. They just like flip it all around and just become, make themselves the victim and just kind of flip the narrative. I was watching something with Donald Trump in it like a few weeks ago, and I don't remember exactly what Trump was talking about, but let's use Canada for example. Because Donald Trump has said some things about Canada, like Canada is very nasty and how they don't treat the United States fairly. Now, that's what he said after he said that he wanted to make Canada the 51st state. They were up there minding their business. Trump just says he wants to make them the 51st state, which is just absolutely insulting. Like, he says the whole thing is worth one state. And I mean, they pushed back on it. And it's just kind of wild to me how he made himself the victim there. He did not at all acknowledge anything that he did. He did not at all acknowledge the Canadians and their feelings about the actions that he plans on taking. He just focused on what Canadians said that they are going to do and how they got a little bit stern with them. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And bullies do that all the time. And when I was watching that, it reminded me of situations that I ended up being a part of in like middle school. I had a little fight in middle school once because someone was being mean to me and I was mean back. And, once it was all said and done, the whole situation just got neutralized. And in fact, I was the one who was punished, but the whole situation just got like neutralized, and that person who was being mean to me never really took responsibility for their actions. Now, I don't really care because, like, I'm not here whining about, oh, I was picked on and bullied. I dealt with it. So that's not what this is. But it just bizarre to me that, middle school gym class bullying is now on display in national and international politics. It is bizarre and it's all over the place. I remember I don't see a lot of stories like this on the news anymore. But I remember in the past seeing stories on the news where parents were on TV talking about their child was bullied. And it usually starts off with there being some sort of a brawl at a school. There's a video of it. And then one set of the parents was like, well, my child was bullying. But you're sitting there looking at how these parents kind of their demeanor and how they conduct themselves, and you saw them in that video, and then you consider like their child, and it's just like, I'm not quite buying that their child was bullied. I'm not buying it, really. I think that somebody might have bullied them back, and at that point then the child got all defensive and went home, crying to mom and dad, and then mom and dad, as adults decide to go out and like fight a child, and then it ends up on the news, and then mom and dad are on the news talking about how their child was bullied. Now, I wasn't there, I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not quite buying that everything went the way that they're saying. that it went. And I noticed that they don't really put a lot of stories like that on the news anymore, because I have a feeling that some people in the comment sections were kind of like calling out some of this nonsense. But anyway, yeah, so it creates kind of a safe space for bullying. Like it gives people kind of a safe space to go and do what they want. Because as soon as they get some pushback, they're just going to neutralize the situation or flip it around. So up until the point of somebody pushing back, then they can just go and do whatever they want, because people don't seem to want to go back to the source. The source of how did all this start? Because in that situation that I was in middle school, where I had that little problem and with this other individual, and we both ended up in the principal's office. The focus was that day and the conflict of that day. It did not go back to how I was being treated, for months leading up to this, and things that I tried to do to diffuse the situation. None of that was discussed. None of that was discussed. So, yeah, people enable bullies. People honestly really kind of like bullies, and people don't like it when others push back and fight back, especially if that person kind of gets the better of the situation. I've seen it in fight videos as well. I have to admit that was my guilty pleasure for a long time, was fight videos. I'm talking back in the World Star days. Now we don't really see those a lot anymore, because I'm pretty sure that YouTube has banned them. Now when I was on Twitter, you used to see them on Twitter, but I don't like them anymore, because first of all, it's too many school kids. I'm a middle-aged person. I don't really want to watch like children in school fighting. I mean, it's like watching the Hunger Games. And I also don't like how people go and just make their own narrative about what we're seeing. And, they just like push some propaganda from this video. So they're not enjoyable like they used to be. And yes, I do have to admit that I kind of enjoyed watching those back in the day. But anyway, there's this one fight video in particular that I remember, and it was these two men. I'm going to say they were about 28, fairly young men, and they were in this entertainment district. I don't know what city, but it looked like a bar or entertainment district. And one man walked up to the other, and by the way, this was a equal fair fight, and the two men actually looked a lot alike. They could have been brothers. I doubt that they were. I think that they just happened to look alike. But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that this was a very fair fight. And one man walked up to the other man and just like started like wailing on him. And then the other man fought back and kind of got the upper hand of the situation. And once the man who was attacked started to get the upper hand, then all the people around were like, hey, 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 stop, stop. But no one said anything when the aggressor started like pounding on this guy who was at the beginning of the frame. Now, again, I don't know what led up to that. No one said anything at the very beginning. But then they, everybody protested and, tried to stop the fight once the person who was attacked fought back. So that's all I just really wanted to talk about. It's just bullying and how people enable bullies. Really, I feel like a lot of people like bullies, honestly. Like, no one wants to admit it, but I think a lot of people really like it. And how bullies are never held accountable. They never take any accountability or responsibility. They just play some mind game where they just kind of flip the script, make themselves the victim, make the other person the aggressor, and or the entire thing is just like neutralized, and people are like, oh well, you both need to figure out a way to get along, and you both need to, be nice and apologize to each other, even though one person could have been like totally just like someplace minding their business. And then here comes this other person. I apologize if I'm repeating myself, because I've made this video a couple of times. and I just had to delete the others. Um, but Ukraine, like Russia and New Ukraine, at the beginning of that conflict, Zelensky said, "Hey, this can end at any time. It's just that Russia needs to leave. Like Russian troops are in Ukraine. If they just leave, we're fine." But when Trump and Vance hosted Zelensky about like a month ago or something, I don't know if you saw that. It was horrible. I felt like I was watching like the Ricky Lake show or something back in the 90s. Like it was very, very messy. But Trump was saying, well, you both need to figure out how to get along. And he was trying to make Zelensky out to be the bad guy. But Russian troops are in Ukraine. So, yeah, they just need to leave. What do you want me to do? Like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But it's just sad, to see those types of mind games, and it's just absolutely bizarre to see this play out in politics with this current presidential administration. I mean, good gravy. Like some of these dynamics that have played out in elementary school playgrounds and middle school lunchrooms and middle school buses and workplaces and families, etc., etc., in bar parking lots. It's all playing out in the White House, all because bullies will never hold themselves accountable. It's a part of the plan, and that's why people should probably never seek out closure or reconciliation, just because, as soon as they get some pushback, it's kind of like a game reset on their part. I mean, they don't play fair. So that's all I had to say. Bye.